to be here. Okay, I am officially recording. Welcome to the May 2022 data chat. Today we're going to talk about the 2022 survey. This is going to be an overview of the survey. It's not going to get too detailed because detailed instructions will come closer to survey time. It's just going to introduce the new questions, ask you for help, and just a few, an unofficial schedule, a tentative schedule, I guess. I am hoping to get you all the instructions and the questions by sometime in the next month, so sometime in June. So that way you can start your data collection, your data gathering. You won't be able to report your data until August or September, whenever we open the survey, but you can start collecting now. Well, you can start collecting now, but you can start collecting once I get to June. So once we all get to June. I am very awkward today. So, all right, so we will dive right in. Our agenda is, first, we're going to talk about changes. There are not many. Last year was exciting. There were so many changes, and it was my first survey from beginning to end. So it was fun all the way across. Today will be much lighter, much easier, because the questions they're adding are much less complicated. I will talk about the tentative schedule. I said that already. And I'm going to have an open forum at the end. The open forum will not be recorded, but the changes and the schedule will be recorded. We are recording right now. If you have questions, you can drop them in the chat. If you don't want me to ask them on microphone, let me know. Somehow you can send it directly to me and say, please don't read this, or you can wait until we get to the open forum and we will open up questions. So if you don't mind it being read online, any questions in the chat I will address during the recording. Okay, going to the next one, we're going to talk about the changes. So what's being added and revised? This is it. This is the additions and the revisions. Last year, I think it was like 30. This year, it is 7. And one of them you won't even see. The ones in red are the ones that are required. You're required to ask. The ones in green are new questions at the state level. They are not required, but I really do appreciate you giving me as much information as you have. It will help us quite a bit. Geocode is one of those background fields that you don't see when you fill out the survey. It's based on your census data, and it gets submitted to IMLS along with your data. So don't worry about that one. Total views. This was one of last year's most frustrating questions, and it's still probably going to be frustrating, but less so. Last year, they wanted to know for your recorded, AKA asynchronous, AKA not happening live, AKA YouTube or Vimeo, however. They wanted to know how many views you had in the last 7 days. This year, it's the first 30 days, which is a much larger window and allows for many more views to be reported. This is still going to be an unpopular question, but we will still ask it. And I will tell you that information unavailable is acceptable. If it is difficult for you to get to that number, saying that information is unavailable to us is an acceptable answer. So putting that out there. The overdue fine policy. They want to know, do you have an overdue fine policy? Yes or no? That's it. That's the end of it. So 2 new questions for you, one of which is a revision of an existing question and one of which is a yes, no. Very cool. On the state level, we are interested to know how many take and make kits or activity kits, packets of seed, any items that are intended to be used anywhere outside the library building. Some people call them passive programs. Some people call them indirect programming. If you have another name for it, you can drop it in the chat. But yes, this is like takeaway kits. This is not necessarily for kits that you make as part of a program in the library. It's, yeah, I think we all get that. But it's things that you are not required to bring back once they leave the building. An activity. Okay, I think that makes sense. We can talk through specifics on that. Please set up a time with me to talk through specifics. That will be a learning opportunity. We are asking about facility usage by external parties for non-library functions. This would be if like the junior league rents out a room, not rents, but reserves a room. If like I always say the Red Hat Society, if they decide to have a meeting in one of your rooms, it's not a library program. It's not used for a library program. It is, and so you're not counting the attendance. You're not interested. We just want to know how many times your room is being used by community groups. So that will help understand the usage of your building, not just for library programs, but for other programs. Again, if you have specifics you want to ask about, if you have questions about that, let me know. Again, it's not a required, it's just a good way for us to gather information. This one might be a little interesting. Scheduled one-on-one sessions. This is not a reference transaction. This is specifically a book a librarian, where you make an appointment and a patron comes and sits with the librarian, like maybe a grant, learning about grant writing. Maybe an in-depth research appointment. Genealogy is, I think, another one. So these are scheduled. These are not just somebody walks in and says, hi, can you tell me, can you give me information on osteoporosis? It's more like I'm calling you and saying, hi, my relative is Ethel Cannon, and I want you to help me find as much information as you have about Ethel Cannon when she lived in Covington County. Yeah. Or I need to find out if I'm actually related to Sarah Cannon, who later played Minnie Pearl. What can you tell me about that genius? So it's one where when the patron may need a scheduled interaction. For those of you who have social workers, if you could let me know, first of all. I think I know who has social workers, but I want to make sure everybody's covered. And by who has a social worker, I mean full-time, on staff, permanent staff. Because we're going to talk through that. We're going to develop something for that. The last one is a narrative statement. This is just a chance for you to tell us about something that we may not be asking in the survey, something we may have missed, something you really want to highlight. Let's say that because of COVID, you have no programs in person, you have no virtual programs because of technology, but you handed out 3,000 takeaway kits. That's the kind of thing we want to know. Like if you notice while you're entering your data that something looks strange, like, oh, here's an example. If your county has 35,000 residents, but you have 50,000 registered users, you might want to use the narrative statement to explain, well, we have our users are larger than our population because we opened registration to anybody in the US. You may also just want to brag about a really good program you had. like you get a really like high profile someone or another. You forged a great partnership with the school board. You got a $50 million grant from the Alfred Free Sloan Foundation. Yeah, so that would just be a chance for you to tell us about your library in your own words. You can tell us your story. And that is open to interpretation, but I'm happy to put parameters. If you're like me and you need parameters, we can work on a rubric. So just let me know. So those are the questions. That's what's being added. Now let's talk about what then revised, I should say, added and revised. So let's talk about what's being removed. As you know, last year, there were so many questions added to the programming section, section I in the survey. Those are, unfortunately, those are going to stay. I will address that in just a minute. But we are removing 2 questions from that section. I know it doesn't make up for adding so many, but we are removing 2, which is they will no longer be asking about the children's programs and attendance for ages 0 through 11. We will be asking for that. We will still be asking for that split into 0 through 5 and 6 through 11. But we won't ask for, we'll ask 2 children's questions rather than 3 in the programming and then 3 in the attendance. Okay, we'll get the questions out to you and you'll see what that means. But I'm also, as I'm writing the survey, I'm reviewing all questions. I think that this is the exhaustive list of what's being removed and added. But this is still, it's still up in the air. We'll know for sure once we have that list of questions too. It'll be final. So that's the removals. So some questions for you. These are things to think about. You can either let me know in chat what you think. You can wait till the open forum at the end. You can email me, lcannon@statelibrary.sc.gov. You can let me know however you want to. Some questions I have for you, just general. Are you interested in reporting the date that you stopped collecting fines? That is not something that is needed on a federal level, but on a state level that could be of interest to us. Are you interested in letting us know that? I don't want to overtask you with too many questions and too much data to collect, but at the same time, I want you to be able to report as much as possible. Because we do look at the data and we do use it to help us make decisions. And it is also used, well, I was going to say, so maybe not, some of the questions are used nationally to look at trends, but this would be one that we wouldn't report to IMLS. It's just for us at the state level. Since we changed from 7-day recorded program views to 30-day program views, would it be helpful to ask both and allow you to choose one or the other or both? Again, that's adding another field, but like I said, saying not available is a perfectly acceptable answer. And then I really want, and this is a real good thinker, I don't think you'll have any answers. If you do, I certainly do welcome them and I'm excited to hear them. Want to know how we can revamp section I, which is the programming section. That is the section that caused a lot of stress for all of us last year. I don't want that to be stressful, but unfortunately I can't make it disappear. I can only change it. So I'm curious to know how you would revamp section I, AKA the programming questions. And yeah, just let me know. We can talk about that in the open forum. I am going to change some wording, but it's still going to, the spirit's going to be the same, just the wording may be a little bit more usable. All right, so the unofficial schedule, but the tentative schedule right now is June or July. The materials will be sent to the listservs, the data coordinators listserv, which should include all directors and or designated survey contacts. If someone in your system, in your library, is not getting data coordinator emails, or you want to verify that someone is getting those, let me know. I can go into the list, or I can either add the person or verify that the person's on it. And if they're not getting the emails, we can look into why. But that will be sent out. So you may get, if you are on the listserv, you are a library director and you're the survey contact, you may get that 3 times. And I apologize in advance if that's the case. But we just make sure everybody's getting it, everybody's covered. So yes, we'll be sending out materials, meaning the survey questions, the survey instructions, meaning, and by survey instructions, I mean the definitions for the questions. Hopefully that will disambiguate or help, make the questions less confusing. I will also send out worksheets that I have developed to help you with some calculations and some collection issues that will all go out. July, I will start training on data collection, meaning training on the questions. What does this mean? What does that mean? How do I count this? How do I count that? Training will start early in July because in theory, and you will not be judged if you don't, in theory, you will start gathering your data in July. In actuality, if you gather it on the night before the survey is due to close, that's your business, and that's okay. As long as your data is good. Accurate, I should say. Accurate, let's not put value judgments on it. I will start the weekly Q&A drop-in sessions. So as you're collecting your data, I will be available. If no one shows up, that's fine. I will not be offended. I will also be available for scheduling one-on-one meetings, site visits, Zoom calls, phone calls. I'll walk through the park with you. I will meet you at Chipotle. Let me know what works best for you. I want to meet. This is not a meet halfway. This is an I will come to you. Unless you aren't comfortable with that, then you can come to me. So the best way for us to get this done, let me know. You can start scheduling now. I'm working on a Calendly, which is a way to reserve time. I'm working on getting that together specifically for the survey period. If you want to go ahead and start scheduling time with me, I will do that. I'm in a bit of transition here, but I will make time for you. Some of you, we will also be doing site visits unrelated to the survey, but we can talk about survey stuff while I'm there. Just let me know what works best. And yes, I really do like site visits. You can ask people here. I love to drive and I will come to you. I will sit with you. You can hand me printed pieces of, you can hand me printed spreadsheets. You can read things to me off your computer. You can write in a Sharpie and hand me a number and tell me where it goes in the survey. With one library, I spent, I think about a half day gathering data from various people at the library to get the survey done. I will do that. Just let me know. I mean, we'll do our best. So yes, let me know how you want to do it. Okay. Late August, early September, we will open the survey. This is really dependent, when we open the survey is dependent on getting it tested, getting it read, getting it reviewed. I would really like to have it open in late August. Some people indicated that they would like to have it open earlier, and I would like to do that for you. That doesn't mean you have to start then. This means that it'll be for your early birds, it'll be ready. There's a possibility we could do a soft opening, depending on when we get done. We'll talk about that. I will start training on how to do data entry after the survey opens. This will be the nitty-gritty of how do I log in? How do I use the survey portal? Where do I put my numbers? What do I get if this comes up? What if I get this message? Oh no, it won't let me lock my data. We will talk about that once the survey portal is open. I will do group training, and I'm also still available for one-on-one meetings, site visits, Zoom calls, everything in between. I'm telling you, just let me know. Late November, early December, it really just depends on how things are going. We will close the survey. Last year we closed at the beginning of December because that's when that was the week after Thanksgiving. This year Thanksgiving's a little earlier, so we could close it at the end of November. But again, this will be a game time decision. We will see how things are going. And if there are extenuating circumstances, I don't know why I had a hard time saying that. If you have an issue and you need the survey open longer, let me know. We can work with you. If something big comes up, if something happens beyond your control and you just can't enter it, just let me know. We are flexible. We are so flexible here. We will make sure your data gets there. Okay. Those of you who were the survey contact last year, and at that meaning 2020, 2021, you may be familiar with how we did things, which was once I saw that your survey was locked, I went in and reviewed your data to do any validation, cleanup, checking things, getting my own questions answered if I saw something that looked remarkable. So data cleanup will go throughout the survey, but we will also, once surveys are locked, we will do more data cleanup. So what happens, just to give you the background, is as you lock your surveys, I do my cleanup and review. And then once that's done, our vendor takes it and does her own review. And then once that's done and we submit the data to IMLS, there are more questions, more reviews done. We answer those questions, we lock our data, they do another review. So it's constantly being reviewed. So when I say the data cleanup begins, it never ends, but we will be cleaning up data, so we'll have fewer questions at the end. I will let you all know that our data is officially locked and certified as of this week, our 2021 data. We were very lucky because I asked a lot of questions on the front end that once we submitted our data to IMLS, they did not have any, well, okay. First time I submitted it, there were some things I had to reconcile. Then once we were done reconciling everything, I locked, they did their manual review. They had no questions, which was nice. So we hope we get that again. We were way ahead of the curve on that. So thank you all for being responsive when I contacted you. Okay, so some final things. I do have Excel workbooks available. If you prefer Google Sheets, I will figure out how to put them in Google Sheets. I know some of you do use Google Sheets because it is free and easy to collaborate on. I'm happy to figure that out. In fact, I'm excited to learn Google Sheets now that I use a lot of Excel. I have an FTE calculator. Unfortunately, fortunately, however you want to view it, we will still be asking about FTEs. We will still need those calculated. I can calculate that for you. I can give you a workbook that will calculate it for you. If you like to do your own calculations, that's fine too. Those questions, by the way, last year there was a huge issue. It was I take the blame on that. I misunderstood, miscommunicated, and FTEs were grayed out. You could not edit them. We did figure out a way to get them in the system, and that error will be fixed this year. So you shouldn't have a problem entering FTEs. I've also got a program tracking sheet that you can use that calculates the number of programs, the attendance of the programs, where you put that in the survey, and also a tracker for recorded. So it's for live programs and recorded programs. So I've got that if you want to use that. If you use your own, that's fine too. In fact, if you use your own, I'd really like to see it. I'd like to see how people manage their data. I have seen some spreadsheets from some libraries that are, they made me cry with happiness. So I am that level of nerd. I will also need folks to proofread the survey document, proofread the survey once it's in the portal. And I think I may need people to actually test the survey to make sure it's doing what it needs to do once we have the test environment set up. You can contact me, let me know if you can do that. If you can't get an answer to a question, please come talk to me. Sometimes staff leaves your institution for whatever reason, and it is difficult to get those numbers. Sometimes you're like, oh no, we didn't collect that, or oh gosh, we lost all our data due to a crashed hard drive. Talk to me, we'll figure it out. We'll you know, we could always say, sorry, this isn't available, and we'll put a note in explaining why it's not available. You can estimate. I will tell you to be careful with estimates. An estimate based on educated guesses or based on actual observations is fine, but guessing, I don't know, about 500, that's probably not okay, unless you had 500 last year and you figure it's about the same. So be careful with your estimates. Talk to me. We'll talk through every situation. As you can tell, I talk a lot and I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to talk about the very niche questions, the very, trying to think of a way to say this, the very unique situations. Just let me know. I do like talking through that. That's what helps me know how to, guide training in the future, how to develop a frequently asked questions document, and local, and by local, I mean state level, local policies and procedures. I do love site visits. I said that already. Just let me know. You are not bothering me. I guess that's the ultimate phrase. You are not bothering me when it comes to getting the survey done. I want the most accurate data we can have. I am going to say, actually, I'm going to go to the next slide. I'm going to say, just do your best. Do your absolute best. That was last year's phrase. That's this year's phrase. Once again, the best is the best we can do. So do your best. I'm going to stop the recording now. If you're watching the recording, you have questions, please email me, lcannon@statelibrary.sc.gov. Otherwise, I'll see you in June, probably. I'm stopping the recording now.